Hi, it's Peachy. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. And if it is not, welcome back. It is time for my annual Creative Sims in honor of African American History Month. I try to pick figures that some may know, but some may not know as well as others. I hope that you have checked out the other videos on the playlist. This is actually my third year doing this, and it's always so much fun to look through photos and get information to share. Why don't we jump right into it? The fifth of 7 children, Marsha was born Malcolm Michaels Jr. to Malcolm Michaels Sr. and Alberta Michaels on August 24, 1945, in Elizabeth, New Jersey. Marsha was educated in the Elizabeth Public School System and graduated from Thomas A. Edison High School in 1963. After graduating high school, she enrolled in the United States Navy for a brief stint. Marsha relocated to New York's Greenwich Village to discover herself. As a transient, she turned to prostitution to survive and soon found a like-minded community within the nightlife of the village. She found joy as a self-made drag queen of Christopher Street, infamous for her unique design and costume creation. Throughout her discovery phase, she was referred to as Malcolm and Black Marsha before settling on Marsha P. Johnson. The P stands for Pay It No Mind. Johnson quickly became a prominent fixture in the LGBTQ community, serving as a drag mother, helping homeless and struggling LGBTQ youth. Marsha was extremely successful and toured the world as a successful drag queen with the Hot Peaches. I was no one, nobody from Nowheresville until I became a drag queen. That's what made me in New York, that's what made me in New Jersey, and that's what made me to the world. That is a quote directly from Marsha P. Although she struggled with mental illness, she had a profound way of putting others' needs before her own. Johnson remained in constant communication with her family and often returned home to Elizabeth in observance of holidays. During her commute home, Marsha would invite wayward people to join her for a hot meal with her family. Marsha never visited home empty-handed. She would bring her nieces and nephews trinkets and flowers for her mother. Contrary to the belief, the family was very dear to Marsha's heart. Her forthright nature and enduring strength led her to speak out against injustices. June 28, 1969, at the Stonewall Inn on Christopher Street, things turned violent after members of the LGBTQ community were harassed by the NYPD 6th Precinct. Many eyewitnesses have identified Marsha as one of the main instigators of the uprising, and thus some have recognized her as the vanguard of the gay liberation movement in the United States. Following the events at Stonewall, Johnson and her friend Sylvia Riviera co-founded the Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries, or STAR, and they became fixtures in the community, helping homeless transgender youth. STAR provided services including shelter to homeless LGBTQ people in New York City, Chicago, California, and England for a few years in the early 1970s, but eventually disbanded. Marsha's whole life seemed to be a balance between popularity and exclusion. Throughout Greenwich Village, she was known as Saint Marsha. Locals admired her ability to truly be herself. Marsha had a reputation for being generous and kind. She gave people clothes and food even though she had very little of her own. Despite her popularity, Marsha also lived a life of poverty and danger. She was arrested over 100 times. She believed no one should hustle or live on the streets, but she knew no other way to survive. In 1990, Marsha contracted AIDS. She spoke publicly about it and told people she hoped they would not be afraid of those who had the disease. On July 6, 1992, Marsha's body was found floating in the Hudson River. The police officers ruled her death a suicide. Marsha's friends and acquaintances strongly disagreed. They thought it was more likely that Marsha was a victim of an attack. Trans women, particularly women of color, were regular targets of hate crimes. The LGBTQ community was furious that the police didn't investigate her death. At Marsha's funeral, hundreds of people showed up. The church was so filled that the crowd spilled into the street. The case involving Marsha's death remained closed for decades. In 2012, the New York City Police Department finally agreed to reopen it, yet the case still remains unsolved. Since then, Marsha has become an icon of the transgender community. In 2019, New York City announced that a statue of Marsha and Sylvia would be the first monument to honor trans women in the city. In 2020, New York State named a waterfront park in Brooklyn after Marsha. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a little bit along the way. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this. If you haven't already and like what you've seen, please hit that subscribe button. I really would appreciate it. I have a variety of Sims content here on the channel, more cast videos, builds, and a few machinimas. I look forward to seeing you around my channel again. In the meantime, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you may be, and see you next time. Bye for now.